Growing up in a loving Greek family in the Bronx, it was understood that the only son of Charalambos and Vasiliki, Lois, would finish high school and take over his father's flower shop. But my drawings at PS7 caught the eye of my 8th grade teacher, art teacher, Mrs. Engel, who handed me a black string portfolio filled with my drawings, which she had saved, and sent me to the High School of Music and Art, a brilliant specialized school founded in 1936 by Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. After my first day at Music and Art, I knew I would never be a florist. At Music and Art, I was inspired by the Bauhaus movement, which had ignited a modernist approach in the design world that illuminated new possibilities in two-dimensional graphics, culminating with young Paul Rand, the first major art director in advertising, to articulate a new graphic design freedom. At the very pinnacle of my graphic forefathers stands the name Paul Rand, cantankerous, irascible, loving, bristling with talent, and endowed with invincible personal conviction. The original and badass Rand showed me the way. Rand's talent and instinct created an absolutely supreme standard for the rest of my life. We all need heroes. Mine is Paul Rand, an iconoclast who made it big in a constipated business world. When I was 15 years old, Paul Rand showed me that with talent, conviction, and courage, you can change the world. The 50s were the golden age of modernism and American graphic design. Rand, Bill Golden, Lou Dorsman, Herb Lubalin, and Gene Federico were known as the New York School of Design. And I was inducted by them as the enfant terrible of the movement. But with that strong design background, I have never regarded myself as a designer. I am a graphic communicator because I create big ideas, not designs. Surely, great graphic design is not merely the aesthetic arrangement of lines and shapes. Great graphic design is the transformation of a big idea into an unforgettable image. Look closely at some of my work. Every inch of my solutions are the celebration of my ideas. No lines, no shapes, no fucking decoration. The idea, if big enough, placed on paper, is perfect design. Coming.
Last night you walked into my showroom. We tried very hard to agree. If you really want that new fire, then bring back your money to me. Bring back, oh
trust every one of those men. Go see a Pontiac dealer tomorrow for a special deal on a new Le Mans or a Firebird or even a Grand Prix. Mickey Mantle.
I want my maple.
Johnny Unitas.
I want my maple.
Oscar Robertson.
I want my maple.
Ray Nitschke.
I want my maple.
Will Chamberlain.
I want my maple.
Maple, the delectable oatmeal that heroes cry for. It comes in flavors, and now it's making the bowl. Don Meredith.
I want my maple. Want it.
America, demand your MTV. I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
MTV, music, television, video, music, 24 hours a day, and in stereo.
Call your cable company and say, I want my MTV.
That's my hand.
Very truly yours, and get it out immediately, please.
Yes, ma'am.
The Olivetti girl types on an Olivetti Electric, the typewriter with a brain inside that makes the form of common typing mistakes absolutely impossible. But obviously not all Olivetti girls are girls.
I'm very pleased with your work, Joseph. By the way, what are you doing for dinner tonight?
Olivetti, the American Dream Machines.
Now tell me the truth. Don't you think a knuckleball is much harder to throw than a screwball?
No, Whitey. Whitey Ford and his new friend Salvador Dali always fly Brannett. They like our food, they like our style, and they like to be on time. Thanks for flying Brannett, fellas.
When you got it, flog it.
Tell him, Dally, baby.
Always ask your travel agent one question. Does Brannett fly there too? Brannett International. When you've got it, flog it.
John, is that Billy coughing? Get up and give him some codeine. Male chauvinism. That's the first ad for Tommy Hilfiger.
First there was Beanie, Blatz, and Blackbird. Then Kelvin, Ellis, and Lauren. Today is Tommy Hilfiger. Style marches on.
You don't have a cold. I don't have a cold. You have an allergy. I have an allergy. Type talks.
Hey, Eric and Daryl, where can I see you buddies belting curves?
In your face.
So, Dan Marino, where's a dolphin land after the off-season?
In your face.
Greg Norman, where's a great white shark?
In your face.
ESPN, your face! Sports fans turn to ESPN first, because great sports are always in your face.
In your face.
In your face, mate.
ESPN, ESPN, your face!
That was an ad I put in the New York Times, coming from a man who was in prison for 300, was convicted for 300 years in prison, and we got him out. That's me, that blonde is my wife, see it? And that's Muhammad Ali in front.
We're changing the reading habits of the USA. USA Today.
I read it every day for news around the USA.
I read it every day for
business that really pays.
I read it every day for weather that's on the way.
I read it every day for sports that people play.
Every day for movies, books, and plays, at home or away. I read it every day. USA Today!
Because you're busy, USA Today gives you more news in less time. Because reading a newspaper should be fun, USA Today is colorful and alive. I read it every day.
Just like my pals say, hey.
I read it every day.
To see who's hot today.
Every day for mergers on the way.
At home or away.
I read it every day.
USA Today! Every day!
Blazing speed, service, and value.
OMG Fast. No other internet provider comes close.
And if you don't want to take our advice, go to a higher authority.
Thou shalt go to omgfast.com now.
Between Kasparov and Karpov is a white queen. See it?
Life is a cabaret, old chum. As you get older, your view of the world becomes even more beautiful. Except you have to keep switching glasses back and forth. But now I see the world in super focus.
With your regular prescription, order your Super Focus glasses with the astounding power to sharply focus at any distance, near to far. For precise information, go to superfocus.com or call 1-800-900-3700.
Dancing and directing at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater has been my life. Creative, high-dazzling, but I've never really seen perfectly. But now, I see the world in Super Focus.
To order your Super Focus glasses, go to superfocus.com or call 1-800-900-3700.
Whenever I hear those iconic words, oh say, can you see? I say to myself, not that good. Bifocals, trifocals, progressives, nothing is perfect. But now I see the world in super focus.
And that's no bull. And
I'd like to thank Travalo for their ingenious invention of a refillable perfume container that's aircraft approved for our female passengers. In the words of Shakespeare, who are so lovely and smell so sweet.
With your favorite fragrance spray bottle, you can easily and quickly fill your Travalo with their patented leak-proof filling system.
So never Travalo without one.
But make sure it's a Travalo. It never leaks. Go to Travalo.com or your favorite health and beauty store to get the one and only Travalo.
I have always understood that when an original idea springs out of a communicator's head and intuitions, the mystical blending or even juxtaposition of concept, copy, and art can lead to magic, where 1 and 1 can indeed be 3. When that idea is dramatized by a unique image in synergy with words that memorably communicate in a nanosecond, there is always an immediate intellectual and visceral human response. My concern has always been with creating images that catch people's eyes, penetrate their minds, warm their hearts, and cause them to act. And additionally, I have always understood that truly great graphic and verbal communication reflects and adapts to the culture, anticipates the culture, it criticizes changes in the culture, and helps to change the culture. Anyone in a field who instinctively feels the way to go is against a conservative, indoctrinated society and bucks the trend, and who understands the zeitgeist of the time and indeed is mystically ahead of the culture, has the passion and capability to become a cultural provocateur. Abraham Lincoln said, "To sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men." And in Civil Disobedience, Thoreau wrote, "Action from principle, the perception and performance of right changes things and relations. It is essentially revolutionary." The best of those of us whose creations can be thought of as art our culture of provocateurs, infused with subversion against all kinds of authority, even God. Join those of us in the creative community that are hard on big business moguls, fat cats, the authorities, courts, politicians, Wall Street greed, government that benefits the wealthy at the expense of the poor and powerless, anyone corrupted by money and power, and now a new kind of demagogic McCarthyism that attempts to frighten and blackmail our nation in an attempt to deprive affordable health care to the American people. So if you're a graphic designer who aspires to succeed, not only in business, but in life, your mission is not to sedate, but to awaken, to disturb, to communicate, to command, to instigate, and more importantly, to provoke. I know that in the act of creativity, being careful guarantees sameness and mediocrity, which means your work will be invisible. You can be cautious or you can be creative, but there's no such thing as a cautious creative. Better to be reckless than careful, better to be bold than safe, better to have your work seen and remembered or you've struck out. There is no middle ground. But understand, a talented but meek creative personality who allows big ideas to be trampled upon can never join the pantheon of the greats, because timidity and fear of the fray leads to mediocrity. The more innovative your idea, the more courageous you must be to sell it. With all the lucky breaks or unhappily a catastrophe that may befall us, I believe a person still decides their own fate, that they ordain what kind of family life they lead, what they believe in, and what kind of work they produce. Understand one thing. You can decide that no one ever can make you produce bad work. Working hard and doing great work is as imperative as breathing. Creating great work warms the heart and enriches the soul. Those of us lucky enough to spend our days doing something we love, something we're good at, are rich. I believe that the ultimate we can accomplish is to create masterpieces that outlast the moment of their making, that speak to the universal, that reveal and inspire, that are uplifting in their spirituality. And finally, in a profession that should have no rules, I have this damn good advice for all to heed. 1, reject group grope. 2, reject analysis paralysis. And 3, to truly produce masterful work, reject con, create icon. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
You got that?
I really want to say, before we talk a little bit, I mean, from the time I was 12 to about 18, and I was starting to see every month your covers of Esquire, your work at Esquire, unbeknownst to either of us, you were the only teacher in Omaha, Nebraska I had about what magazines could be, should be, this implicit idea of ideas driving them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now we saw, I mean, the I Want My Mapo campaign, which you were involved in. Then I Want My TV, or I Want My MTV 20 years later. Did doing this sort of homage / rip-off of yourself give you any pause?
I was in 85 or 3 or 4. I was called in by the guys at MTV. They were in production for a year, broadcasting to nobody. Zero. No cable operator in America would take them. They, 24 hours a day, kids, take drugs and stuff, ad agencies didn't want any part of it. So they called me in and they said, we think, we're going to have to close it up. And I said, ho. No, I think I could save it. What do you mean? How can you do it? Well, I could, I'll take your logo, which is dull, and I'll put, stuff in it, and bring it to life. No, you can't do that. You're gonna have to, every time you change it, you're gonna have to get a new trademark. And no schmuck, just do it.
And at that point, you could actually talk to clients and say, no schmuck, just do it?
Oh, yeah, more than that.
Yeah.
To this day. And then I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick cut commercial, and then I'm going to get a guy like Mick Jagger who will appear, and at a certain point, the voiceover will say, if you don't get MTV where you live, pick up the phone and dial your local cable operator. And at that point, Mick Jagger will pick up the phone and say, I want my MTV. And it was a dead silence in the room. So what's the matter? He said, we have tried getting it. No rock star will come near us, not in a million years. So go away and come back with another idea. So I said, fuck you, and I left. And I said, I'm going to get Mick Jagger. And I don't know Mick Jagger. So I called Bill Graham at the time, because I was involved with him with Bill.
The great concert promoter.
Yeah, right. And I had done something, and what had happened is Bob Dylan did the Hurricane song for me from Rupert Hurricane Carter, and Bill Graham was involved. Anyway, so I called him up and I said, I explained it to him. And he said, George, MTV will be terrible for the music business. I said, oh no, schmuck. Okay, what do you want? I said, I want Mick Jagger. He said, okay, I'll give you his phone number, but you can't tell him I called Mick Jagger in London. He was on the phone, I got him. I talked. He said, you there? I kept saying, you there? He said, yeah, I'm here, mate. Yeah, I talked. Finally, he said, I said, well, what do you think? He said, well, I'll be in New York Monday. And he showed up, so believe me. It just shows you can have a big idea and you say, well, I think I can get, somebody incredibly important. And if it's a big enough idea and if it's an exciting enough idea, you can talk them into something. I mean, I've done it all my life.
Yeah. I mean, what we see is that the theme that runs through all your best, great work is, as you say, provocation, humor, and a kind of glee about life. And look at this thing I'm putting out in the world. Is that because that's you and that's what you want to do, or because it's effective?
Well, it's effective. If it's not effective, I'm dead in the water. I mean, what I do has to work. But I do it with glee, and I do it with intelligence, and I do it with real wit, and I make people fall in love with the advertising. Great advertising in and of itself becomes a benefit of the product. Becomes a benefit of the product. You can make food taste better. You can make perfume smell better. You can make cars go faster with your advertising.
That's magic. How much do you think, you are let's say, a large personality, George. How much do you think that your schmuck, you don't know what you're talking about, fuck you, your large personality and all of its manifestations has accounted for your success? I mean, if you just had the ideas you had, but you were a meek guy, where would you have ended up?
Well, great ideas don't sell themselves. The more exciting the idea, the more trouble you're in. So my way of selling and my personality was very helpful. First of all, I was the first real ethnic, not Jewish, because there were a lot of terrific Jews in the business, like Bill Bernbach, et cetera, and Paul Rand, et cetera. But I was the first
Greek guy.
I was the first. What I did that was really important. Everybody says I triggered a creative revolution, but what I did is I had started the first ad agency where our art director was at a masthead. All of a sudden we were in power. And all of a sudden, every important art director not many good agencies at the time, but every porn art director, their salary doubled. All of a sudden it became poor. And since that day, 1960, you can't start an ad agency without an art director in the masthead. You know, and what changed advertising, the reason there was a creative revolution is because the art director, I talk about Paul Rand, you know, Paul Rand, Bill Bernbach, who started the Dane Bernbach, was lucky as hell that he became a copy chief where Paul Rand was working. And everybody said, hey, you better be careful of Paul Rand, he'll kick you in the balls, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he went in and they got to know each other, and Paul was very nice to him instead of throwing him out the room. And Paul started to say, gee, this guy's helping me a little bit. And Bill Bernbach discovered, oh my God, he's a copywriter, oh my God, if you work with a graphic imagist, if you work with a real art director, you could do better advertising, and no shit, you know?
Yeah.
But that was his epiphany. I mean, really, you know? I knew that when I came out of the womb, you know?
And the creative revolution of which you were a leader in the 60s, I mean, you are also, by my calculation, pretty much exactly the same age and kind of had the same job as Don Draper on Mad Men. How accurate or inaccurate is that show's depiction of the 1960s in advertising?
You have to look at it in context. Look, before the show opened, you know, a couple of months before, I got a call from one of the producers. He said, you know, Mr. We're doing what they call, right? I heard about they're doing a Mad Men show based on advertising in the 60s. And everybody in town, that I know said, call me, hey, George, they're doing a show about you. Because I was the 60s. I mean, I kind of, creative revolution, you know. And I said, I don't think so, you know. And anyway, so this guy gets, and he says, you know, we're getting people who are from that period. We're doing like a little, you know, documentary, and everybody mentions you. I said, hold it. You're doing a show on advertising in the 60s. You never heard of me? No, we heard of you. You're full of shit. You just told me you never heard of me, you know. So I said, listen, fuckface. I wrote a
Mr.
book.
Fuckface to you.
I've done 10 books, but I wrote a book in my first book was 1972. I called it George Be Careful, which is my anti-slogan. You know, people, you know, God said, George Be Careful. You know, fuck you. You know. So I said, read that book. And you'll find out, because it's an autobiography, but most of the chapters are on the creative revolution of the 60s. That's what the 60s are all about, you know. So maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, I met
Matthew Weiner.
Weiner. Well, I went up to him. Tina Brown was having a party. I did something for Newsweek on the Mad Men. And I walked up and said, Mr. Weiner, I'm George Lois. He said, I had done some articles pissing on his show, you know. And the reason I was pissing on his show, look, it's just the, you know, it's just the dumb, you know, soap opera stupidity. But the point is that everybody, young students, people that say, wow, how exciting it was. Exciting, these guys were, you know, boozers, you know, all they did in life was try to shtup their secretaries, you know, and the worst thing, racists, you know, anti-Semites. I mean, and I say to kids, and worst of all, they didn't have any talent. Well, I'm telling kids, that's not exciting. Oh no, it's so exciting. That's not what life's all about. I mean, what they did is they depicted a shit ad agency of wasps, you know, of anti-Semitic and racist wasps, and who shtup their secretaries, you know. And so it's infuriating because what happens is everybody in the world calls me the original madman. I'm no fucking madman, you know. I'm crazy. I'm crazy, but I'm not a madman. I mean, you know, I have integrity. I've been married. I've been married to my sweetheart for 62 years.
Really?
You know?
Wow. So there were no Peggies or secretaries in
No,
your
no.
life.
The point is, it's a. Look, I'm sure when the mafia guys, real mafia guys, watched
Godfather.
Some Sopranos, they laughed their ass off. So that, say that's not what it was about. But this isn't me looking at them and saying that. That's what it was about.
The excitement of the work.
Yeah, but that's what those guys were about. The creative agency. I started the second creative agency in the world. I left oil day back. Everybody thought I was crazy, right? I started. Everybody was going, hey, I mean, Bill Bernbach thought I was nuts. He said, well, listen, when you fail, come back, okay? We were successful in 2 weeks, and we became the hottest agency in the country. And out of our agency, after 1 or 2 years, for 4 or 5 other creative agencies. So there was like maybe 7 or 8 really good creative agencies. And we took over the 60s and 70s. It was like people that's all, maybe it was 1/10 of the advertising in America, but everybody talked about us, it was so exciting because what it did is it made you proud to be able to sell in such a exciting, interesting, exciting way.
And it is what we remember now. And I could go on talking to you all evening long, George, but we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, sir.
Great.